Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to do a couple different things. First we're going to start with doing some text, but most importantly what I want out of this is the idea of scenes and be able to have different things kind of appearing on the game. Because typically in your game you're going to have like three primary things you want the user to see. First you want like a welcome, maybe like a set of instructions on how to play the game. Then we want to have the game actually playing, and then maybe we should have an end screen with maybe some final score stuff. So I'm not going to do the full thing, I probably won't do some score stuff, but I'll just show you the structure for how to get some text to appear on the screen, and then how to switch through scenes. For me, scenes are going to look something like this, where I can hit space to switch between one scene and the other, and then so I have one scene where I'm seeing this kind of text, I have another scene where there's a ball moving across the screen, and then I have another screen where it's going to say game over, and then I can press R to restart. If I press R, it's going to go back to the welcome page. I can also modify that, maybe so if I press R, it goes right back into the game. Maybe I don't need to go to the welcome screen. But let's go through and let's code out kind of how I did that. Alright, so we're going to start out, like most times, we're going to start with a little circle thing that's going to be happening in our second scene. The primary thing I want to do here is I want to have a scene variable that's going to keep track of like what things should be appearing on the screen. To begin with, that value is going to be 1. It honestly doesn't matter what numbers you put in here as long as you kind of are consistent in your code. But I mean, really the basics of this are not that hard. All we're going to say in here is we're going to say if scene is equal to 1, do some stuff. Otherwise, if scene is equal to 2, do some stuff. You know, else if we could say scene is equal to 3, do some other stuff. So yeah, so what about that stuff? Let's say here, oh, and then you know what I want to do? I'm going to have it set so that when I press my key, if I'm pressing the space bar, which is going to look something like that, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to increase scene by 1. Scene plus plus is going to increase scene by 1. Java's being a little bit weird there. I think it's VS Code being weird. I could also say something like if key is equal to R, scene is going to be equal to 1. So just reset that value. And so really it's like whatever value's stored inside of the scene thing, it's going to kind of depend on what we see up here. The key things that we need to cover here also are text. So text is also a good opportunity to plug the documentation. So if we look at the documentation over here, oh, hit the wrong button. If we open up the documentation here, we can see this is a whole list of things we can do. We can have some image stuff in here, some key image, all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. We can see that all the different keyboard inputs, all the different mouse inputs, a lot of different stuff going on in there. But one thing that we might look at is like text. There's a lot of stuff you might want to deal with text. So we can show how to create text, we can do different fonts, alignments, all different things. So we're going to work with a couple of these, but just know that there are a lot more options out there. Alright, so let's get back into our code here a little bit, and we're just going to say, we're going to make like a welcome thing in here. We're just going to say welcome. By default, text does string, and then it's a location like 300, 200. I think that's going to be the top left corner of my text box. So let's see, if we start this out, we're going to see our welcome. Oh, super tiny, I can't even see that. Maybe you can't see it either. So we're going to go into our setup. So we're going to say right away, let's update our text size to be, let's say 100. I think that's going to make it like 100 pixels tall, if I know that correctly. And we get a little bit better. And now whenever so that's going to be my starting page. Whenever I hit space, it should move on into the next page. Ooh, is it not? Oh, I know why. Oh yeah, so one thing I'm not doing in here, I should still be drawing my background. I should still be saying my background is going to be some value, like, you know, maybe make it 100, so it's a little lighter gray. And then we see that on here, if I hit space, it's going to pop into the screen. The reason it wasn't working before is because I wasn't using background, so even though I'd moved to scene 2, I hadn't really kind of washed away this text. I hadn't kind of drawn over it with a background. So yeah, so I need to make sure I include that in there. In my second scene, you know, I'm just making things up. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that I'm just going to have that circle move across the screen, so I'm going to say, you know, we've done this a lot already. But let's say something like that. We're going to increase the x value by 15, then we're going to draw a circle based on these 3 values. Okay? And then maybe at the end, we're going to say text, press R to restart. We run that again. Get that, hit space, moves on to the next scene. Yeah, it's going off the screen. I won't do the thing. I had it where it like resets the value back, but I'll skip that for now. If I hit space again, it's going to go to this screen. Press R to restart. We hit R, it goes back to the welcome thing. So there's nothing too crazy going on here. Let's see. Is there anything like that I really want to do in here? Yeah, I think that should be okay. What else was I thinking of? There might be something else we could do in here. Oh yeah, so mine's actually very simple because I don't have a whole lot going on in my different scenes. Obviously, I'm just trying to like get a demonstration of this. But really, what we probably want to do as we get fancier with this, we probably don't want to have so much going on in this method. I might mention this across a couple different videos, but it's really helpful to not have a million things going on in Draw because it just gets very bulky and it's hard to kind of keep track of what we're doing. So we could do in here, what I might want to do to keep this thing organized is I might make a method called circle movement. So I'm going to define a method called circle movement, and I'm going to put all this code down in that circle movement method, public void circle movement. And what that means is all that's going to happen in our code now is when it runs, when it gets to scene 2, if scene's 2, it's going to go find the circle movement method. And then it's going to run down here and run whatever's code is inside this method. So that can be really nice to just kind of keep my code a little more organized, especially if I have a couple different things going on in my different scenes, which you probably will. Helpful to have this kind of broken up like that. And then if I, later on, if I figure I want to make some changes to my circle movement, I could do that here. I could say something like, if like circle X gets to be too big, it's greater than, or let's say greater than or equal to 1600, that'd be like off the screen, we could say circle X is equal to 0. It just kind of keeps all my code in one little spot, so there's some kind of nice parts to doing that. And then my thing flies off the screen and kind of restarts in there. Okay, so that's the idea of doing scenes. Yeah, I think that's hopefully a good place to get started with having some a little more different things going on in your game and having a little text going on there. So hopefully that's helpful for you.